Change that name, Angela.
Did you say change that name?
No, the name on the display.
Oh. You gotta click on it, join with the computer on.
I don't want to be up there. In case it goes bad.
How are our emails coming?
I think they're going to be done in a week. Here's the problem. We're in the middle of moving from .org to .gov.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because we just redid our website. It's maywood-al.gov.
Okay.
So now we're doing the emails. And unfortunately, they did the commissioners and the crossing guards last.
Okay. Can you hear her? Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Do you have Avery's number as well as, not seeing out the other guy, what's his name? Did you want to report this?
Where's your?
Yep, Commissioner Avery and.
Just go to the computer.
Oh, is that Commissioner Avery? Where's Sarah? Is she
The first
running
question you
late?
said that was you.
She's gonna be,
She's out.
Yeah, sure.
she's gonna participate remotely. She
Oh,
had
okay.
an
Oh, okay.
emergency.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Okay.
Commissioner Avery, it's Angela Smith, how are you?
All right, and, Angela's calling.
Good,
right now.
are you on your way here?
Thank you. Is calling, Commissioner Avery.
Oh, no, that's okay. All right, okay, we'll wait
Yes,
for
I'm
you, we
about to
gotta,
ask Michelle.
establish quorum.
All right, thanks.
Okay, see you soon.
Michelle,
Thank
do you
bye.
have Tennille's number?
I am for it.
Joe's phone is going right to voicemail.
Oh, Joe's is going to voice?
Yes, however, Sarah spoke with him earlier today, and he said that he was coming, he'd be a little late.
Okay,
We have to have 4 here in person to establish the quorum.
So it sounded like, Angela, you were speaking with.
Commissioner Avery is on his way.
Okay. And you have an ETA budget?
Said 5 minutes.
Okay.
Well, anything new in the news?
Oh, my goodness.
I believe so.
Yes, hi Sarah. Hello?
Do you have Commissioner Campbell's number?
We're looking for it.
Because I messaged her Facebook and she read it. So hopefully she'll be there.
Okay. Oh, look, I have her number. No, I don't.
Mike, would you like some water while we wait?
Yeah. There's some back in there. We put it in the freezer so it would get cold for you guys.
All right.
And there's some on the floor in a box.
If you want warm.
Well, a little cold might be better.
And there's some chips back there too.
All right.
I mean, you have time.
So Angela, do we have to do the recording again?
Do we have to, I'm sorry?
We have to open the public hearing again?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Is that Bradley? There he is!
Is that Joe Ranley?
Yes, that's Joe Radley, superstar.
This will be the first one.
Mike. Please, let's have a film. All right.
What's all the Paul? Hey, what happened? Y'all got something funny?
Yeah.
Since everybody's so happy to see me, what you got?
There's water and chips in the bag.
Okay, no. How y'all doing?
Oh, it's good to see you.
Yeah, hanging in there for a minute,
All
man.
right, all right, all right, all right.
I'm moving slow, but I ain't in no hurry no more. Okay, we're not gonna be all night, all week.
No, Joe, not unless you wanna.
No.
Water. Popcorn. Popcorn.
Huh?
Popcorn.
I said water. Shit.
Water. Okay.
Oh, yeah, Mike. Hey, Joe. Yeah. Hey, thanks for coming. What, man? How you been? Good. Be good to you coming in. All right.
Oh, is that you parking right on the side over here?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So listen. Hey, Mike.
Hey man, how you doing?
Hey, good. What's going on?
How's your son doing?
What, Jason?
Yeah.
All right, I think if you right here in them trucks, you see him?
Oh,
She's seeing more than I do. I called him, he told me he be busy. Which is okay.
There's Avery. All right. Bring it home. All right.
How you doing, man?
What's up, Mike?
Hey, listen, I was there at the conference, so everything was fine. Everything was
Take
fine.
care of all the stuff, so you're
Would you like
chair.
a water?
Please, man, turn it over. All right, so Angela, is Sarah on Zoom or is she,
Sarah is on Zoom. Yes.
hey, can you all hear her?
Good evening, Mr. Barnes.
Hi, Sarah.
Well, so which, this weekend's, so Saturday, or what do you want me to do? Okay.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
When would be?
All right.
All right.
Sarah, can you
Like
see the
Wednesday next
screen?
week?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let me know when you're ready to start.
Or Wednesday from,
All right. We're ready to start.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. So our chairperson is out of town today, so we need a physical quorum here in the room in order to establish a quorum today. So if staff could take the roll, we can establish that a quorum exists and get started.
Marvin, this is on your cloud.
What's that?
This is going to be
Who's
on
taking
your
roll?
cloud.
Me.
Okay.
Chairperson Lyra.
On your cloud.
Here. Commissioner File.
Here.
Commissioner Dawson.
here.
Commissioner Campbell.
been established.
Okay. Chairperson Lyra, I understand that you are out of town and that it involves a family emergency that prevents you from being here tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can everybody hear her okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Does everyone agree that's Sarah's voice, and then everyone agree that she can participate tonight electronically?
All right.
All right. All right. Very good. And Sarah, I understand that you are okay with relinquishing your chairperson duties to someone who's physically here, Commissioner Files?
Yes.
Okay. If we could get a motion and a second to appoint Commissioner Files as chairperson pro tem for the evening.
I make a motion that Commissioner Vaughn be acting chair for tonight.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, very well. So, Chairperson Lyra will participate as a regular commission member then tonight. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Chairperson Files. And we need to, first order of business is, well, I guess we have minutes. Are we approving the minutes from last time or not?
Not from, we're approving the minutes from the February 28th. The February 28th meeting that was sent to you, that we tabled from the last meeting.
Yep. Okay, so everyone had the minutes at the outset of the last meeting, and they were passed out, I believe, at the meeting or shortly before. Everyone comfortable approving those February minutes tonight?
So we'll approve.
All right.
You're seconding?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm seconding. Sorry.
All right. And if you could call the roll on the minutes, approval of minutes. We're approving the minutes of February 28th right now.
And if you could let the record show that Commissioner Campbell is in attendance. And 7-7.
Chairperson Lyra? Commissioner Files? Commissioner Dawson?
All right.
Commissioner Campbell? Aye. Commissioner Radley?
All right.
Commissioner Avery?
All right.
Commissioner Fowler?
Sorry, I didn't hear. I lost power completely and I found out.
Okay, we're voting on the February minutes.
Yep, I approve.
Okay. Then did you vote?
I'm hot spotting.
Chairperson Files?
Aye.
So it doesn't appear anyone's here for public comments. Any new business, staff? If not, I will turn it over to you to reopen the public hearing.
Continue public hearing on case PC ZBA number 23003 to consider the request of the Village of Maywood to amend the text of various sections of the Village of Maywood zoning ordinance and a text and map amendment to create an entertainment overlay district. Some of the proposed text amendments are the result of the study regarding the moratorium on certain businesses contained in Ordinance C020228, actually that's CO202228. Text amendments to numerous sections subject to the location, development, installation, construction, licensing, and operation of barber shops. hair salons, nail shops, live music permits, pop-up retail stores, special event spaces, tobacco shops, and fast food restaurants in the village of Maywood. Other additional changes are proposed to sections of the zoning ordinance on a subject outside of the moratorium, including but not limited to updates and amendments to Table 8.1, which is the commercial districts permitted and special uses, Table 9-1, which is office, park, and manufacturing zoning districts permitted and special uses. Section 11.3 standards, Table 13.1 off-street parking requirements, and Section 17 definitions. This hearing was opened on April 25th, 2023, and continued to today's date, May 9th, 2023.
So I don't know what you guys want to do next. So Arista provided a memo based on the conversation that the commission had last time relative to changes that have been proposed or talked about. I don't know if you want to maybe go through that and try to get a consensus on some of the items for voting purposes. Does that sound good, Angela?
Mm-hmm.
Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Should it now?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, did the commissioners see the board members see the memo, the whole memo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
So you'll see also in that memo contains some commentary on some of the public comments we heard, but really what is in this presentation, these couple of slides, are really talking about specific changes requested or discussed during this last public hearing. The first slide that you see here, these were the proposed edits for discussion. These are edits to the distance requirements. And these are separation requirements between these uses. You can see here for all three of them, smoke or tobacco shop, smoking lounge, video gaming within full service restaurant. The proposal on the table for discussion was to switch from 500 feet to 1,000 feet between these uses. And it was particular to these three uses that were discussed. Hopefully it will go. Okay. All right. The next edit that was proposed for discussion was a clarification on gas stations in regard to tobacco products that are sold. Using the retail floor area seemed to be too broad, not specific enough. So this was a proposal to change it to a maximum of 10% of the total shelf space within the store. Shelf space would include the area behind the service counter. So this was an edit to that standard. Another good edit that was proposed was in the special event space. Remember, this was the use that used to be banquet hall. Rather than being a bit more broad and saying kitchen facilities, stove or oven, the proposal was to require commercial kitchen facilities, and you can see that there in blue. There was one discussion note here regarding the parking. We did not come to a resolution, but I wanted to bring it up to everybody. There was a discussion note that, it should be loosened to allow for some of the things that happen in the C2, the on-street spaces and the shared parking arrangements, to be used for a special event space. So it doesn't all have to be on site. This was not finalized, this was a discussion. But the note was really that they could perhaps take advantage of things that happen in the C2, the collective parking, but what would be not allowed to be varied would be the amount of parking. So the proposed revision for your consideration: a special event space must provide all required parking. No variances are permitted to this standard. In addition, there is a provision in 13.12.B.4 to reduce parking, just to clarify that it is not eligible for that. So essentially it loosens this a little bit by saying you can use some of the options that are available in the current ordinance, but you cannot ask for less parking than is required for the standard. And one of the final ones also, a discussion regarding live entertainment, the use of live entertainment, and as the E-Entertainment Overlay District name describes, this is where entertainment happens, so rather than have live entertainment in the overlay as a special use, One of the proposals was to change this to a permitted use, so it doesn't have to go through the special use process. Also, just wanted to bring up, we had put in 3 notes for discussion, and just to kind of summarize what we heard there, the first was because they require approval by the Tobacco Commission here in the Village of Maywood. Should these just be permitted rather than special? It seemed consensus at the time, obviously for discussion today, is that it should continue to require a special use so that it can be kind of monitored on 2 levels. We did discuss, again, for special event spaces, the old banquet halls. There is a standard that's proposed here that says a manager needs to be on site. There was a little bit of discussion, but there wasn't any resolution whether security should be on site as well, if that should be a required standard. And then the final note for discussion that you saw in the previous presentation, should live entertainment be a permitted use? As I just described, that was one of the items that was put on the table as an edit to allow live entertainment as a permitted rather than as a special use. And those were the items that were at that time brought up for discussion.
Commissioner Dawson?
Commissioner Dawson speaking. In the last session we had, Brandon brought up the issue as a trustee of the Village of Maywood of extending the geographic area as this applies to all the way to Madison Street, as opposed to where it's at. And I'm for that. I think it should be extended all the way to Madison Street at a minimum. So I don't know if that's something we can.
Excuse me, Commissioner. The street was Quincy. 5th and Quincy.
I'm sorry.
He wanted to extend it to Quincy, which is south of Madison.
Oh, Quincy. Then I stand corrected. So then I stand, but then I adhere to that. So I'm sorry. Then to Quincy. The point being farther than what it was designated geographically before.
Okay.
So I don't know if that means that we need to vote on that as an extension in terms of the geographic area or not.
I think Sarah wanted to add something.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I don't know if we can make 2 geographic areas, if it has to be continuous. I don't know that continuous makes sense, but if that makes it more cohesive, then that's fine, but I think the 2 distinct areas, but should be included.
Right, so when we talk about the planning areas, it's usually included 5th and Quincy to 5th and Lake as an area. So that would be the entertainment, that would be considered the entertainment district.
Well, the issue is there a cap in
Right.
that regard?
No, it's continuous.
So it is continuous.
From Lake Street to Quincy.
All right, so it's all the way from Lake Street to Quincy.
Mhm.
All right, okay, if that's the case, then I'm fine with it.
Well, the truth of the matter, Commissioner Radley, the truth of the matter, that's always been.
Yes.
That's always been.
Commissioner?
Pardon me?
Commissioner Ratton?
Yeah, I just said Commissioner Radley. All right, so I just feedback on what you were saying about the entertainment district. It's always been from Quincy to Lake Street. Always, through as long as I can ever remember when they established that. That's where we had everything that was plastered down here, Madison Street, Warren, and even back to Quincy, because it was like a banquet hall over there where the old car was.
Yes.
So,
Well, so the point is just to solidify that concept.
yeah,
that's all.
okay, yes.
So as we go through these, we'll be looking for consensus on each of these areas that were brought up, and then it will be an overall recommendation with a consensus on these discussion points.
I have a few questions about this too, as I'm a commissioner.
Commissioner Avery?
I just question that this map shows that this entertainment district extends beyond Fifth Avenue to 4th to 6th Avenue, which are residential areas. Will this entertainment district only be within Fifth Avenue, or would it also be extending to the residential areas and it's showing from Walnut Street currently, even though I know it's 6th Avenue, but it's including residential blocks to the east and west of Fifth Avenue as well. So why is that included?
It's meant to grab a larger area, but the applicability of the district can only be used if the lot underneath it is zone C2. So even if it has the entertainment overlay on it, that residential lot can't use it. It doesn't apply. It's only applicable where you see that light blue color coming over there with the intent if those areas maybe start to change over to become kind of slightly bigger C2 commercial areas, the entertainment overlay can then be part of it. The way it is now, while they're in there, you can't use any of the standards. It doesn't apply. It comes back to, I believe, it's these standards. It's only when the base district is the C2 district, that's when these can be modified. If it's applied over any other district other than a C2, it's basically like it's not there.
So my question is that for future development where those areas on 6th and 4th Avenue that's currently residential be going through the zoning and the planning and zoning process of being rezoned, or is it just an overlay just for the sake that it's easier to draw?
My understanding is there's no plans to change them to anything at this time, not at all. The idea is if over time, as this area maybe it starts to come together and becomes more of an entertainment district, as it kind of expands from kind of where you see the blue and maybe those other blocks come into it, that it has the opportunity to use the overlay district provisions. But there's no intent to change any of the underlying zoning as part of this, and as far as I understand, it's not kind of a long-term plan at this point yet.
I'm saying currently as drawn, just using the yellow properties on 6th Avenue. If it's within this particular map, that if someone purchased one of those yellow properties, that they technically could then have that property if approved rezone or no?
No.
Okay.
No. However, Commissioner, it has always been the vision of Fifth Avenue corridor to expand one block deeper, just because the lots are not really conducive to commercial development as it stands today, right? We have like a lot of those mixed-use buildings and things like that. If lots were to become available, we've always had the vision that 4th on the east and 6th on the west would buffer those those areas for development. Now, if development here, if someone is as far as like a resident in that yellow district, as long as that's still a residential district. But let's say we get a developer and, just like Seaway Bank or the bank across the street, that goes from Fifth Avenue, the parking is behind all the way to 6th.
Okay.
Same thing with the Masonic Temple, all the way back to 6th Avenue. So the vision always is to have 4th Avenue on the east and 6th Avenue on the west as kind of a buffer, for the district and future development.
Right, so the answer is yes, but that's why it was done for future development.
Well, if that was to come, if that was to come.
But there would be parameters such as this were to extend. You're still entering on Fifth Ave. It's not like people could make businesses and now they're entering on
No,
Sixth
it would be the back.
The back
It would be the
always.
back of a business for parking or a business for the entertainment, district or something like that.
And that will automatically be included within the wording of the new zoning for the overlay?
Right, so like Arista explained, that's still residential zoning. It's still residential zoning, so they would have to, where you see that yellow, they would have to come and petition this board for a rezoning. And it would have to make sense, right? In this, in this regard, it makes sense if they wanted to, if they wanted to do a rezoning, because it is contiguous with a commercial lot.
Right.
But they would have to come before this board and petition to change from residential to commercial.
Right, so technically it can, which was the question, they can, if they had both properties, they could somehow get it rezoned.
Yeah, I mean, any property anywhere always has that option, but the idea would be is if you're doing a lot in the middle of that yellow, it probably doesn't make sense and the village should allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking why was it overlay the extra 2 blocks, so that's for future development.
Commissioner Dawson?
But Commissioner Dawson, the point is of contention. If there's a contention on the part of a residential scenario in that regard, what is the response in regards to that as an issue?
You mean if it were to change to commercial?
No, what I'm saying is if all of a sudden in that particular, if there's a residential backlash, the same in terms of, well, we don't want this to happen.
They've always lived behind Fifth Avenue.
Right.
So it wouldn't be, I mean, if there was contention, then that would, that they would probably be at this meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, there would be a whole public hearing, public process.
Okay, but you see where I'm coming from. I'm just saying in terms of what we're laying out here.
Yeah, it would come before this, this board as far as, this commission, as far as a rezoning is concerned. And if each one of those, residents 250 feet around would have to be noticed. Right. Because like with this overlay, we're not changing any zoning.
No, I was just asking if in the event a developer come and then they somehow bought a yellow property and a blue property, they were able to now get it rezoned to make a bigger commercial property.
Commissioner Rattler?
Yes, would it be correct in saying that, maybe to clear up what you're seeing there, the old housing building, the old First Federal Bank, right there, 5th and Ward? Okay. Well, that's a business up front, which is the entertainment district, but it's used for other uses. But behind it is a great big parking lot.
It's residential.
Okay, but the Clark family house is to the south of those lots, and then you have bronze paint to the west. To the north. So I think if you look at the map, that it kind of tells you that even though we made that the entertainment district straight 5th Avenue, but like you say, behind it, there's opportunities. Some people use parking, especially some required parking, so it's already there. But next to the parking is homes also, and then in front of it is homes. So that's always been the concept of that district, of that corridor.
But if it's going to be parking, would it necessarily need an entertainment overlay? Is the question. I mean, if it's just going to be parking.
The issue is the overlay versus.
The overlay, it would be the same.
It would, because you're saying for the yellow, the residential?
Correct, because, I mean, technically, that entertainment line is in the center of the street. So across the street is somebody else's home again. Now, it's the same thing. Versus being divided by the alley. And now, it's the back of my house on 4th Avenue, and then the business is on 5th Avenue. So that's what I'm asking, is there a reason why that overlay line is in the center of 4th versus being divided in the alley?
Yeah.
It's kind of to the intent of, as Angela stated, that for future development, if somebody were to come and buy those yellow houses behind that and change it into C2, now in addition to the C2, they have the options of the entertainment overlay, which gives you kind of what you're going for along 5th Avenue. Because as you're looking at an entertainment use, you're looking at things that more impacts, more parking, more people coming and going, deeper lots, serve them better. So this is a way to help facilitate that. The idea of it being residential behind it, so we've given it the opportunity, but it's got to go through that first process of a rezoning to a C2, which is a whole big public process. This doesn't give them any permission to do anything like put a parking lot on a residential house on a residential lot, they're still subject to the standards of the residential district.
Exactly. The zoning has not been changed, and the other thing that's very, very important is that if they were to bring a petition for a rezoning of that yellow to make it commercial, we would do a consolidation of lots, right? Because right now, you would have 2 zoning lots, right, with 2 different zoning, So when that happened, when they came, I would hope one of your provisions, staff would recommend that there would be a consolidation of the lot. Because even if it's rezoned to commercial, it would still be a separate zoning lot, so we would make sure that it would be consolidated, so that zoning would be.
How would you consolidate it? Because it's an alley between the two. So if they bought 2 properties on the opposite side of the alley, how can they consolidate it without necessarily?
You can vacate part of the alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you would just the 14 feet.
I mean, and you'll just see kind of just the way it goes because of that, because there's vacating an alley and all of that. You're usually, if it's going to expand, you're not going to get one personal, one residential, one C2, one residential. You're going to have somebody that's coming to do kind of that whole square.
Yeah, kind of like a pinstripes. If a pinstripes came in,
Yes.
but they would need probably half of this in order to function. So they would come and take this, vacate this part of the alley, and again, they're entering here. This is just the back of their parcel. But if they closed down and someone came in and knocked it down, those people still will have purchased all of this rather than having little pieces of lots.
And it would be
now,
consolidated, yeah.
because of the way it's zoned, you can now have a business where you're entering there. So by consolidating it, it lessens the ability for commercial to now start truly bleeding into residential.
Thank you.
All right. Do we want to go back to those questions that you posed? Want to go back to that slide so that we can look at those 3?
So there were 2 questions. One was about the special event space and parking. Basically, the way that it's currently written, all parking has to be provided on site, no variances. That's what was originally proposed. We've made a recommendation to loosen that in terms of it's got to provide all the parking. You can't get a variance for that, but you can use the options that are in the C2, which is collective parking. Basically places can share parking. Some on-street spaces can count. This is really just a policy decision.
So this wording here, provide all required parking, that is supposed to loosen it so that it includes street parking?
What it loosens, this is a kind of full rewrite of and I'm sorry, this slide is so crowded. The second dot, which says it's got to provide all parking on site. So that meant initially you could not use collective parking, you could not use any of the C2 options, which are things like the on-site parking or the on-street parking, to let those count. What the revision does, it says you got to provide all the spaces you're required to provide, but you can take advantage of collective parking, you can take advantage of on-street parking to fulfill that in addition to whatever you've got to provide on site.
Right, but this verbiage here does not, if I'm looking at this with outside eyes, it doesn't tell me that I can use on-street parking. It's just saying I have to provide, and since I don't provide parking spaces on the street, I would assume that we have to provide it in a lot. So if we do want to provide off-site parking, should we actually write that in there? And then if so, do we want to do that at a percentage so that they're not taking all of the
The
available on-street?
the C2 already has a provision for parking up to 2,000 square feet. Is forgiven. You kind of start there in the C2 district, and they can also provide payment in lieu of parking as well.
And that was, so what we did here, the intent, and maybe that first sentence doesn't read fully correctly, the intent was a special event space must provide all the parking required by table 13.1 and no variances are permitted to this standard, which would reduce the amount of required parking. So I can tweak that language there to make it clear. And then it's got the options in the C2, the first 2,000 square feet of gross floor area are exempt from parking calculations. There is, for spaces directly in front of the structure that are on street, those can be counted. So it's really not a lot of spaces that typically get counted.
Right.
And then the one that says, not eligible for the reduction in parking spaces, 1312B4. That is the one that allows the village board, upon planning commission, zoning board of appeals recommendation, to reduce the amount of parking. Because the intent here was, okay, we'll let you discount your first 2,000, we'll let you put parking spaces, count the parking spaces on the street, but you've got to provide all of the spaces that get required.
Can I make a comment? Yeah, I think philosophically what we're talking about is making sure that we're not any less restrictive than Forest Park in terms of, what's happening there on that.
One moment, Commissioner Dawson.
On the first one that you started the meeting with, can you please have someone
Yes.
advance this to what you're talking about?
This is what we're talking about, Commissioner Lyra.
I know, but the slides on the Zoom are still in the first part of the meeting.
Oh, special events.
I've been trying to get this.
Can't hear what you're saying.
Can you see it now? It says special event space.
Nope, it just it's still on the smoke shop, tobacco shop.
Maybe try refreshing your screen.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a Zoom call, so.
I can stop share and restart share. That might do it.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Allow working on audio. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try and share screen again. Did that work?
Yes.
Oh, and I think we've got you louder too, so that works well.
Oh, good.
There we go. All right.
Right, well, maybe we can discuss a consensus around this parking issue as we are moving forward.
Can Commissioner Lyra see the screen now?
Yes.
Could they provide the parking through like a parking agreement with another parking?
Yes, well, that is one of the things that Commissioner Lara brought up. It's one of the things, just so we share from the staff, that makes it is quite difficult, because the other people are kind of, the other businesses and things like that, they're kind of in the same situation. And then also the liability and things like that of someone, saying, okay, you can use my parking lot, then that therein lies, that makes them liable too, as far as, if someone falls in their parking lot. So that's always been a really, really difficult thing, as far as, staff is concerned, because they'll come with a letter, the PLCCA said that I could park in their lot, and then, they don't have all of the insurances and, things like that, so.
I mean, is that something that could be stipulated? And that seems like an easy fix, just adding additional insurance on your COI.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, the idea of allowing for some overlay there in case there's that scenario.
Yeah. Commissioner Lira?
I can't hear you guys. I can only hear what's close. I can't hear Commissioner Files.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I had just said was that seems like a simple fix with getting an additional assured on their COI. And then Director Angela shrugged and said, and then Commissioner Dawson, go ahead.
Yeah, to create a scenario where there's an overlay so that that's not an issue.
Also, yeah, the municipal lots as well.
Right, exactly.
So Angela, is there a plan for increasing the municipal lots? Because they can buy in, right?
Yes, and payment in lieu.
Can you explain that to the new commissioners? Because it might not be something they know about.
Well, that was something that that Arista was sharing was, you mean the payment in lieu?
Yeah.
So that's what Arista was just reading, that the parking fee in lieu of provision shall be applicable for new construction or where additional floor area in excess of 400 square feet is added to an existing building. Changes in use within existing buildings should not require a payment in lieu. So this is another area that our planner is going to be diving into as we do a parking plan and as we do the TOD updates for the downtown area. That will also be coming, because we'll be looking at issues of density and requirement of parking as a part of that density, and those types of things. So we're going to be really diving more into this entertainment district as we also do those TOD zoning updates as well.
Okay. So this payment in lieu, it assists the village in some of their financial needs for improvements. However, it still does not provide the relief that is needed so that people are not, say, parking on my front lawn because there's a business on the other side of my garage.
Explain it again.
Oh, so basically what I'm understanding is, let's say I'm a business and a banquet hall, and I don't have enough room for parking. So I pay a fee so that I don't have to meet that requirement of all the parking lots. But you live on the other side of my business. Well, my patrons still need someplace to park. So they're gonna go and park in front of your house, and if there's not a room, they might drive up onto your lawn and park, or in your driveway, because those parking spots still need to be fulfilled. Money isn't going to take care of that. So I think this is great for helping the village from a standpoint of this is helping them to perhaps build a parking structure, but it still doesn't alleviate the fact that those parking spots still need to be there day one.
Well,
Okay.
according to this ordinance, the way, right, so that's why this is up for discussion. Do you want, do you want to have all parking provided for on site? No variances, or do you want to loosen the parking restriction and do things with collective parking and on-street parking spaces?
Well, Commissioner
One, Commissioner Radley. From knowing past experiences, especially with the entertainment district, anything that went east of Fifth Avenue always had a parking agreement with whoever they could get a parking agreement with. Written. So if they wanted to do something, they had to get a written agreement, bring it to the village, and say, hey, look, I got permission from such and such and such that I can use their parking from such and such a time to such and such a time on such and such a day. Now, if we want to talk about the people that have their homes that are in the back of those business districts, where they park, well, that's everywhere you go, you see that they have residents parking only signs. So if they were to go around the corner and park in front of your house and you can't get in front of your house, yes, I agree, that should happen. But what should happen is that we should put up signs that say, residents parking only, and if they violate that, then that's revenue for the village because the police are supposed to come and write tickets. So there is provision, there's ways, that's always been. I mean, it just hasn't been enforced in a long time, but it's always been. So I don't think the residents will have no problem with that. Just say, hey, put them signs up. But you really got to get the booming before that really happens. You know, the village had already put one parking lot up on 5th down here, they put up one over here, two, three, I think. So I understand that they're able to use those parking spaces as well as, it's almost like what Broadview did. You know, as you see your businesses start to grow, then you look for parking that you can take and make, you know, and put a fee box up there. I mean, you can't go downtown without fee box parking. So I'm just saying, you know, to answer your question that was made that you was worried about, you thought it would be a problem, but the people going around the corners of parking in front of people's houses, I don't agree with that. I'd be the first one out there hollering and screaming. But there's ways we could do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways. My point is that that doesn't sound like the fix. It's just doing fee in lieu of. So I think on-street parking is fine. I think residential signs are fine, but we need to have them. And we don't have them, and there's nothing in this provision right here that states that the village is going to do that. I'm just going by what this says, that they'll give you money if you can't meet all the parking requirements.
And please be reminded that we are dealing with the, what's in front of us as far, there are, as I said, there are other, zoning updates that will be taking place that are, pertinent to this district and to the TOD area, 6th Avenue, 4th Avenue, all of those types of things. And with those updates, also village regulations will come, as well that require the parking signs and, things of that sort.
So I think she's worried about residential parking sovereignty. That's
right. You put up signs, that handles all that.
Yep.
Yeah, put up signs. Just put up signs.
Absolutely.
You know,
It's just not written here.
You know, I remember the time that our house is on 3rd, and I remember the time people would always park right almost right in front of our house. You know, it's overflow, it's overlays. It all depends on what's going on. But it can't be handled. I understand. We don't get why I understand what your vision or thought was, but I just thought I'd let you know.
I just wanted clarity on what you said.
Well, I think the way that they have it there, I think that would be.
So the residential parking permit thing is a parking management item, it's not a zoning item. So things like putting up signs for, residential permit parking doesn't follow it.
I understand.
It's a whole.
That has to go to.
It's a good solution a lot of times.
But it has to go to traffic safety for that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is to answer her question, you move it out of here, but then you make staff or whoever, take it and put it up before this traffic safety committee, say, look, this is what we'd like to have, because this is what might be a potential problem, or it's beginning to be one. So then you work collectively together on solving that issue.
Correct. I was just asking if I was reading this section correctly.
Yeah.
So one thing to point out was because that section 1312B4, the way it's proposed, which is not the way it has to be, but the way it's proposed is they would not be eligible for that because it is a parking reduction. My understanding of kind of the issues that revolve around the banquet halls is there's so much traffic and so much stuff happens there that the parking is a super big issue. So the initial proposal was you can have one, but you have to provide all parking on site on that lot as one, kind of the building's there and the parking lot's there and it's all one lot. So that's the initial proposal, which is why no off-site parking was permitted, no variances. There was some discussion, maybe loosen that up. We can, we can manipulate and kind of massage this however we would like to allow for some loosening up. But it's kind of one of the big decisions first is, do we want to keep it where we started, which is you got to provide all your parking on site.
So let's start there.
Well,
Because if we say yes, then we don't have to do anything else.
So we don't want that, because that's what's gonna do, that's gonna cause a problem for any commercial.
Right, that's
Absolutely right.
that's like
Absolutely.
scaring them off.
Right,
Yeah.
so then the other area would be, to loosen the restriction is collective parking in all districts, but revise the standards so that no variance is allowed to reduce the amount of parking required to be provided, but is more flexible in how it is provided. For example, a special event space must provide all required parking. No variances are permitted to this standard. In addition, a special event space is not eligible for a reduction in parking spaces offered. And that's where it's being addressed, the payment. But then you can utilize.
Commissioner Lyra,
Commissioner Lyra.
I think we need to think about how many special event spaces we want along this corridor, and this is a way to limit them. As much as I would like to not make parking as much of an issue, because I'm a firm believer that we just need to do away with parking requirements, but that's my side issue. That this is a way to say we want so many special event spaces within this corridor, and this is a way we can control that.
One quick correction, these standards are for any of the districts that allow them, not just the corridor.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Agreed.
I have a comment, Commissioner Avery. Did we ever clearly lay out the difference between special event spaces and banquet halls? I know that the definition was still kind of the same, and to my understanding, the difference between the banquet hall and the special event space is a banquet hall has staff on site, which is serving dinner, which is uniquely different than the special event space, in which is you don't see, like you're renting the space out and you're doing whatever you need yourself. But a banquet hall clearly has its own staff. They're serving dinner. They're preparing the food, and I don't think that's clearly stated in here to clearly define the difference between a special event space and a banquet hall.
So we eliminated banquet hall, and it all falls under this special event space, which has the standards about a manager on site, that you're not using it as a de facto concert hall, that you've got the commercial kitchen, now the parking issue that we're discussing. So it's all the same thing, whether it's a wedding event or you're throwing some sort of event there. We've got the additional permits that are part of this, like the live entertainment permit. I think that's where the name settled, if I'm correct, that would address kind of events that may happen in a special event space, may happen in a restaurant. But this is really tailored to be, banquet hall would be gone. The way this is proposed, banquet hall is gone from the ordinance. It's all under special event space at this time.
And a special event space must be 3,200 square feet. It is prohibited in a mixed-use building so that you're not disturbing the residents above. The special event space must be located a minimum of 500 feet from another special event space. So Commissioner Lyra, that's where I think that was addressed, so that there's not too many.
Exactly.
And then kitchen facilities are required for preparation of catering of food, and I think it was Chairman added the commercial kitchen to that. And the manager of the special event space must be on site during all events, and that's where tonight, hopefully the commissioners will come to a consensus on how you want that to be worded. And then cannot be operated as a restaurant with regular hours of operation. Food may only be part of a scheduled event. Cannot charge a general admission fee or any other monetary donation for entrance, with the exception of fundraisers or events for bona fide nonprofit organizations, places of worship, education facilities, or similar uses. So this is where we got into the discussion as far as that live entertainment permit. So you could have a special event space that does comedy shows, or cabarets, or
That sounded a bit restrictive, though. The litany you just listed. Could you read that again?
Cannot charge.
Well, I mean, my concern is that you've got Mariella's that exists now, and there's a place that they've got like a parking space between them, and there's another location that's part of that same facility. I don't want that to be a negation in terms of their operations.
Well, they're grandfathered in.
Their grandfather.
This is for all new spaces.
Yeah,
So,
everybody who's there now is there.
Everybody
Okay,
who's there is there.
Now, if they shut down,
Now,
right?
if they shut down, then they would have to adhere to the new zoning ordinance.
Right, but the litany there was sounded a little bit. Could you read that again, just one more time?
Which
I'm sorry.
part?
Well, what you just listed and what you just read.
Okay, so they cannot charge a general admission fee or any other monetary donation for entrance, with exception of fundraisers, events for bona fide nonprofit organizations, places of worship, educational facilities, or similar uses.
Okay. I'm not sure. I got a little bit of concern about that litany of restrictions for some reason.
Is there a specific part that's?
Well, it seems to me. I mean, the list is seems to be a little overly ordinate in terms of what's allowed and what's not allowed. I mean, I need a little more clarification as to the motivation behind it.
So it sounds like we're trying to, in my mind, we're trying to limit with this special event, so it can't become a club.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. That's the main thing. There's a difference in a special event space
Versus an established
versus
location.
a club.
An established location of commerciality.
Right, so if it's a special event space, the user is paying a fee to use that space. So the owner of the special event space cannot then just charge a general admission. That's where it becomes a club.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're finding. That has been an issue.
Yep.
Well, but the issue is not to be an anti-club, is it?
Well, there's live entertainment is a use that would allow for the clubs.
Right.
It's just allowing for the ones that try to kind of operate on a, the ones
Ad
that
hoc
do
basis,
competitions.
as an ad hoc basis.
But there are, in particular in the entertainment overlay in the C2, you have permissions for live entertainment. You can have a club. There's nothing that's, you meet the standards for live entertainment, you can have it. We're not pushing that out. And one of the proposals was in the entertainment overlay to make live entertainment permitted, so it doesn't even have to go through that special use process.
Right, and that was a discussion with this commission, that you still wanted it to be a special use. although, well.
No, it was proposed to be permitted.
Yeah, it
rather
would
than
be
special,
permitted,
in the
but-
entertainment overlay.
When they came to get their business license, that's when they would be given, or that's when they would request a live entertainment permit. So that would be on the village regulations.
And could that live entertainment permit be on an ongoing basis, or does it have to be per event basis?
No, it's per, like for instance, like let's say Mariella's. That's a prime example. He wants to start having comedy shows there. So when he gets his business license, he would also get a live entertainment.
Well, he already has a business license. The issue is he would add on to that, or?
Right, exactly. Exactly. And the other thing too is a lot of this is handled in the liquor code, which we haven't even, we won't go there, but a lot of this is a lot of the stipulations are on the liquor side as well. For these type of, especially event spaces or clubs, live entertainment.
I guess my concern is we want it so that if there's an ongoing operation, that it's not pegged into singularity in terms of event as opposed to an ongoing operation. So that they don't have to come back each and every time to do something.
Well,
Right.
then we would want them to establish that as their primary business, no longer a special event space. It is now, we'll just use, since we've been talking about it, a club. This is a club, say you're a club, be a club, do all the stuff you're supposed to do as a club, but don't go under the guise of being special events. Because those are two different
Right.
establishments.
Your primary use versus an accessory use.
Mhm.
If it's just, if let's say you have, you are a special event space and you have a comedy night, or, spoken word or something like that, 4 times a year or something. When you come to get your business license, you would also get that live entertainment license. However, if you are a cabaret or a theater or something like that, then that's your primary use. Then you would have to go through, to get a live entertainment. That's your primary use. That's on your business. That's your type of business.
Okay.
I think it's
I guess the issue is if you had a business that wants to do a number of things as a flexibility for survival, you don't want to have them
That's why we have-
curtailed.
And they can be combined. I mean, if your district allows it, whatever principal uses are allowed within a district can be combined. So I could be, if I'm a place that has live entertainment every night and I want to serve food, I could be a restaurant and live entertainment. Both just have to be allowed in the district.
And or a movie theater, or provide music and or stage theater, all of the same.
Yeah, at that point, that goes under live entertainment. So if it's music and theater and all that together, that's just live entertainment. So there's no distinctions made in the zoning code regarding what type of art
Okay.
would be presented there.
Commissioner Rattler?
Yes, covering on here the right thing now. Are you saying if you get a special event license, that will go along with your business license? Or either when you get your business license and you say, hey, well, I want to have live entertainment, I want to do this and that should be a separate license that you buy with your business license, correct?
That is, the way that it's being proposed now is that we would handle that as a live entertainment permit.
Okay, the permit.
And that's an accessory use.
Right, so therefore is there,
So it's all.
so what I'm getting at is that, let's say you have let's say a bar. All bars you have don't have entertainment permits. You have to petition the village or us for that. So what I'm saying is if a person comes to the village, say hypothetically speaking, I'm asking that if they say, well, I want to have this bar, or this cigar bar, but you got music, you got this, you got that. Okay, that's fine. But when it gets into the entertainment part where you have live acts or such as comedy, whatever have you, there should be another license that goes along with, also with your business license. Do we propose that?
That's a live entertainment permit. That would be issued with your business license.
Okay, but my question is, would there be a fee for that?
Yes.
Okay,
There would be a
okay,
fee.
that's what I'm asking, okay. All right, because I mean, if you're gonna have it, then the village, we should benefit from some of that also. That's just like having a packaged good license and having a lounge license. Well, the packaged goods is inside the lounge, but ordinary to sell, but you gotta buy both licenses. See, so that's what I'm saying about, this here, it's just a different animal, but it's still the same. So I don't know, is that what you guys would have on your plate? I mean, have
Yes, we're
something
gonna
like that?
handle.
So whoever set the price, yeah, you have to get 2 licenses, right?
Yes.
If he don't use it, it's just on him. I mean, but sometimes things are nice to have just in case, if you can afford it. But business license is pretty expensive, I understand. Okay, no, I just wanted to keep clear.
Back to the issues at hand, which is the
Right,
parking
Thank you.
and the note on the slide right here that says, do we want to require on-site security? So can we get back to the parking issue and come to consensus on what they want to require?
Can you pull the slide back up?
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think we kind of moved away from what was on the slide. So it sounds like what we want to do.
Excuse me real quick.
Oh,
Commissioner Campbell, you had a,
Yeah, I was trying to get back there too. So it was 2 options, right? With the restrictions, and then is that what we're supposed to be?
Right, the consensus on, I think that you came to a consensus as far as everybody is open to loosening this restriction. Now, let's come to a consensus on how to loosen it.
Okay, I think I may have something. Okay.
fire away.
All right. So what we want to make sure is that for any special event space, that it provides all required parking and no reduction of the required number of spaces be allowed by variance. So that's point 1. So you can't reduce the amount. So if I need 100 spaces, I can't come in and ask to say I need 80. So that would be out. But we want to allow the option of counting on-street right-of-way spaces if you're in the C2, which puts you in the entertainment overlay. And then it sounds like we want to allow the other option that applies throughout the district of collective parking. There's standards in there regarding creating an agreement. As that's executed, the things can be added on the kind of village end about the insurance, but basically what we'll say, if you're in the C2 or the C2 with the overlay, you can count some of your on-street spaces. And if you're anywhere in the village, you could use the collective parking.
Hey, can we get a
Yes.
poll from the commission on that?
That works.
Yeah, we will. All right. Do we want to make a motion? Do we want to?
I don't know if you need a motion, just,
Just-
does everyone agree with
Yeah.
that?
I agree with
Yeah.
that. Need a motion? I agree.
Yeah.
Commissioner Eden?
Okay,
Okay.
we have consensus.
The speakers were asking for a poll.
Yes, we just did a poll. Commissioner Lyra, what's your vote?
I am for this, yes.
Okay, so that's a complete consensus.
Can you get a consensus on this, on
Security?
security?
Mm-hmm. And then after that, we'll go to the other 2 that were on that original slide.
You decided those. Yeah, you did. But I'll bring it back up.
I'm
Glad. Or it was brought up and just we needed to confirm.
Okay. So going back to the on-site security. Can you
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
So given the experience that Forest Park has had with live event space and security, I would recommend that we require on-site security.
Is that recommendation for, all size events?
Yes.
I would concur, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Avery?
I'll say yes.
Okay. Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Ratley?
Yes.
All right, yes.
And does that apply to all existing special event spaces also? It's a little different than the parking requirement. Are you gonna
I'm sorry, I
require
didn't hear the question.
So even for the ones that are grandfathered in, you're saying?
The question would be, is the standard applicable to the existing one?
Well, obviously, has to be.
I would say yes.
Mhm. Okay, that's a consensus on that too.
And just so I can ask, because all the other standards kind of are easy, there's, the other one is the manager of a special event space must be on site during events. I assume that's the same as.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to, if on-site security is something that's going to be applicable whether you're grandfathered in or out, that's something that we will have to put forward for, during business license.
Yes.
Question.
Yes, Commissioner Ratley?
Explain the grandfather clause, like grandfathered in about security.
Well, that's what I was asking, is this on-site security going to be applicable to all of the special event spaces that exist today?
Can you define
Yes,
security?
and-
Can you define security? What do you mean by security?
And we need to be careful, try to be a little more proactive about what's going on with these mishaps at some of these things. And I would say that when they should require, should have security on site, at least 2. Or say like if you got 300 people there, 3. If you got 200, 2. You got a minimum of 2, I would say, because things get pretty bad outside. Parking, things need somebody to monitor inside, in and out. I don't know.
How do you feel about 20 people? Let's say I'm having a baby shower there.
No. No.
Then I can just have one?
No. I would say things like from 50 people and up.
Okay.
50 and up. Because
Attendees?
things get pretty, you know. And
So-
I think what, I don't know, when they come, they already have the license, so how do you make sure that that they're following what's supposed to be done, like for our security?
Well, we don't want to impose it on them as soon as this passes, right? So what Angelo was saying was with the next business license, it would be understood that they would need to start complying in the future.
Okay, all right, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, you don't want to spook nobody. I mean, that's
Right.
fine.
I agree.
Commissioner Campbell?
I'm struggling with just the number because that can easily, I can tell you that we're having 20 people or 50 people and it end up being 60 people or 70 people. I just think, just for safety precaution, there should always be at least one security person on site. That just, because I've been there and done it. They can tell you whatever they want to tell you, but it ends up being something else, and how do we monitor that? So I think it should just be standard that they have security on site.
A minimum of 1 on site. So I think
Yeah,
Commissioner Avery,
I
you
was
have,
agreeing with Commissioner Dawson here, like how do we define what security, like,
Mhm.
am I just standing at the door saying I'm security, like,
right,
what exactly do we
Is that-
define as security?
right. Is that someone who is hired by a legit company? Is that someone who is armed? What does that mean?
That's something that, we're dealing with land use. Some of this is also handled in the liquor regulation as well.
Are you trying to tell us to stay in our lane?
I'm just saying.
But what if there is, what if there, but can I just kind of give a different perspective real quick? What if I own a special events space and it is against my religion to have alcohol. So I never get an alcohol license, a liquor license. So then how do we enforce the security on an establishment that doesn't have a liquor license and won't have one?
Right, I think the analogy that Angela was making was that, you know, this is more of a business licensing issue, and we're going to be bringing forth business licensing amendments to the board that go along with all these changes. So we'll address the security, and it won't be tied to the liquor, it will be tied to the fact that you're getting a special event license and you need security in that case. And so we'll work through those issues.
All right, okay, I understand that. So it comes under the preview of the business license as opposed to what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So we don't need to add it to the code.
So,
yeah, so I guess the question is, we created use standards, right, for the districts. Do we want to specify security as required in the business licensing?
Yeah, that's how we should do it.
So just cross-reference it.
okay, and then can you go back to that one flag that I thought we had more business? Commissioner Lira?
Did we reach consensus then on this, or?
Yes.
Yes.
So what's next?
And I'm not running the meeting, I just know I'm closer to the mic, so I'm just repeating. So don't let anybody get offended.
I appreciate it.
Oh, is this it?
Yeah, this is it. So the first one was we had this discussion, and obviously we can revisit. Smoke tobacco shops, smoking lounge, they require approval by the Tobacco Commission. Currently, the way it's drafted, they require a special use, but because they're going before the commission, do we want to maybe make them permitted? The initial discussion and initial consensus was no, we want the double layer of review. We want to look at it as a special use land use, and then have the Tobacco Commission tackle whatever they tackle in terms of the sale of these products. That was last April 25th.
I agree, I think it's a good dual control.
So that would mean if that's the consensus, there's no change to the draft as it's proposed.
Yes, that's my understanding. Commissioner Dunn.
Chairperson, can we get a consensus on the map? I know that you kind of talked about it, but
On
there wasn't a formal.
Fifth and Quincy to Lake, and
Exactly.
Fifth and Lake instead of Fifth and Madison to, okay. All right, so the proposal was to have the entertainment district span from Fifth and Quincy to Fifth and Lake instead of merely Fifth and Madison to Fifth and Lake.
I concur. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Avery?
I just have one question.
Yep.
Is there also redevelopment opportunity from 6th Avenue to 9th on Lake? Because there's nothing but tire shops there currently. So why is it in the entertainment overlay?
Oh, because those tire shops are non-conforming. Once they're vacant,
Yeah, that's just.
they have to go away.
Yeah.
And so they can be reused or redeveloped into entertainment type uses.
Yeah, we had that fight a long time ago. People over there.
Well, I can.
You concur? All right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Rattler?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Lira?
I agree.
Okay, I agree. We have consensus.
And it's going south to Quincy too?
Yes.
So,
And so the last item on the slide was, as we're talking about the E-overlay district, the entertainment overlay. Initially, live entertainment is a special use as it's drafted, and the discussion last time was to switch it to a permitted use, this being the entertainment overlay district and where we want uses like that to locate. So rather than have it as a special use, it would be allowed only in the E-overlay as a permitted use.
and the thought process behind that was, anytime you are trying to promote development and, you know, you're trying to streamline the process. You know, so, and you're trying to be, you know, friendly. We've created an entertainment district. We know that that is what's going to be within that district. We're looking at trying to take some of those layers away from that.
Bureaucratically. Yeah.
Okay. So that's it, right? We've covered all your questions?
It's going to be allowed use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and then the others were just, okay, so that language just answers what we just discussed a second ago, went through this. This was the only one, just the consensus that the shelf space language for gas stations was much more clear.
All right. Commissioner Avery?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ratliff and Campbell?
Well, then,
Okay.
yes. Aye.
Okay, and Commissioner Lira?
Yes.
All right, and yes for me. All right, we have consensus on that as well.
And then the last one was smoking tobacco shop, smoking lounge, video gaming with full service, increase from 500 to 1,000 feet separation.
All right, Commissioner Lira?
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Avery?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Ratliff?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Video gambling within full-service restaurant. Now, is that going to take away from the standalone ones? Or just as another added, this
Yes,
is what you're going to say, this is what we're going to have?
We have found that the standalone, the cafe bistro concept has not been adhered to in the village. Both of the video gaming facilities that that were allowed under the cafe bistro are not selling food as the original concept was, you know, put into place. Actually, came before the village board in regards to establishment of that Class M license. So, from our perspective, we're looking at also providing incentive for people to have a full-service restaurant
Right.
in order to have the video gaming.
Right.
So we're not messing around with it anymore, like, oh, you can have sandwiches. We are requiring a full-service restaurant that also assists the village in, you know, getting a full-service restaurant, incentivizing.
That's what my thought would be. But now, what happens now with the standalones, since you were proposing this concept? So what happened to the
Those are grandfathered in. They are grandfathered in.
Even though they're non-compliant? If they're
But-
not actually selling
But
food?
yeah, they're not
You
compliant,
can't
so
be a cafe with no food.
That's an enforcement issue.
That would be an enforcement issue, and that would be something that would have to be brought up at the liquor commission.
Okay.
oh, that's okay. That's handled by the liquor commissioner. Okay, all right. I don't know. I don't go to those things. I don't have money like that.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
yes.
aye, okay, and aye. So we have consensus on that as well.
Yeah, that would help us.
All right. Any others? All right.
Just for the record, there is no public here, so there's no additional public comment. So I guess at this point, Commissioner, for chairperson, if you want to close the public hearing, and then the board can discuss and make a motion.
Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
Aye.
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 All right.
All right. So closed.
Okay.
All right, so next, discussion and motion and recommendation to the Board of Trustees by the PCZBA regarding the amendment of various text sections of the Village of Maywood zoning ordinance and a text and map amendment to create an entertainment overlay district as forth in 5.A.1 point above.
I'd like to make the motion that we make a recommendation to the board with the stipulations we've discussed this evening.
Those stipulations include extending to Quincy.
Yes.
Correct. So it's the special event parking, loosening, on-site cross-references to business licensing for on-site security and a manager on-site for special event spaces, the map extending north to Fifth and Lake and south to Quincy. Live entertainment is a permitted use in the entertainment district, and use of shelf space instead of floor space for tobacco sales. And extending the distances from 500 to 1,000 feet between certain establishments, tobacco shops, smoking lounges, and video gaming restaurants.
And just to be nitpicky, ignoring the stuff on the bottom that we said requires commercial kitchen facilities.
Yes.
Correct.
Got it.
Can I get a second?
Yes.
Anyone wants a second?
I'll second.
All right.
You gave me that look.
That's not what that was. Okay. Okay. All in favor?
All right. Well, let's take a roll call.
Yes, we're gonna need a roll call on that.
Commissioner Lyra?
Aye.
Acting Chairperson File?
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Commissioner Campbell?
Aye.
Commissioner Ratley?
Aye.
Commissioner Avery?
Aye.
Commissioner Vallow? Quorum has been,
It has passed.
has passed.
Good job, everybody.
Good job.
All right,
All
thank
right.
you.
So a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. Let's do it.
Thank you, commissioners.
You know, through this process, we lost all power in the building. Here on the paper.
You're here on your way. This is.
My hotspot
Oh.
What were they doing? Yeah, so, yeah, we got that sign.
in the dark.
That sign.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, I know. So, let me know when
Good seeing you.
Mr. Campbell, we started the meeting,
I've got pictures and what we need is brackets for basically the 4x4s.